Hello and welcome back to another video in the hardware topic. In this video we're going to spend a little bit of time troubleshooting and looking at ways of how to actually do that in a practical way. Before we do that, let's go and have a look at some principles of troubleshooting. Really, there are three main steps you want to be thinking about. The diagnosis of a fault. So you've got a problem with some type of component or peripheral. You want to find out through various means what that fault could be. Once you've gone and discovered that fault, you've got to implement a solution, and that solution is going to obviously solve the fault. If you are an experienced technician, you want to be able to document not only what the fault was and how you solved it, so that when that same problem turns up again, you're not having to go through lots and lots of trial and error to find the problem. You will already have it documented, so that means that the downtime is a lot quicker. Also, let's say the technician leaves the job, someone new comes in. It would be nice for them to have something to refer to if there is a similar problem. How we can actually go about doing these things is a typical strategy. So, for example, most of the problems that occur can be solved in a really straightforward way. And that is checking the power and checking the connections. Half the faults that ever occur are basically those reasons. Check the hardware, replace it with known good one. What it's talking about there is this. Is it a hardware problem? Is it a software problem? One easy way to find out, let's say your hard drive is not working. Now, it could be something to do with drivers. But what is more likely to be, if you take the one that is broken out of the machine and replace it with one that you know is good and put it into that machine, then you will have a known good one. And then if it works, well then that's good. You know that the one you took out originally is faulty. It's a hardware problem. If, however, you are going to put in a new one, and that one doesn't work, well then you have a software issue. So check the software issues, place component into a different computer. So what we're basically saying is you've got a problem with a hard drive, you take it out, you put in a new one. Now if that new one, which you know is good, does not work, then it's not a hardware problem, it's a software problem, and you need to look in a different direction. Finally, ongoing problems, get a technician. I would imagine that you as students are able to solve problems up to a certain level. But at some point, if it can't be fixed, rather than make any more mess, take it into a shop, let a proper technician have a go. What we're going to do, we're going to look at three bits of hardware. We're going to look at a peripheral, which is the monitor, and how to fix simple problems there. We're going to be looking at a hard drive, how to fix that, and we're going to be looking at a printer, so we have some ideas of what to do there. So let's start off with the monitor. Okay, so here is a monitor, and what we're seeing here is a dodgy screen. Now, the first thing we need to make sure we're doing is this. So we would have a look at our monitor and we would make sure that we have all the leads nice and securely in the back there. So for our Mac, we've got our power cord there. For a PC, you would have to check on monitor cords as well. So we can see that that is nice and secure in. So what else can there be? Well, we need to probably have a look at the settings. So down here, in this case, we can see lightness and darkness. Let's go and reset it by clicking on this one. And you can see that we can make it nice and light. And if there is no sound, well then we can change the sound as well. Okay? So what we have there is our first example of how to do some troubleshooting, and that would be with a monitor just to change the settings. Someone can lower it for whatever reason. We've just gone and reset it all. Okay, let's move on to the hard drive. Okay, so what we've gone and done here is we've taken the lid off the case and we've got our hard drive here. Now, the hard drive could have several problems. The first one would be that it has been formatted. So everything on the hard drive has actually been wiped clean, which would not be a good idea because you'd have to reinstall the operating system and everything else. So the first one is that the hard drive could be formatted. The second thing is that essentially the driver for the hard drive needs to be updated or reinstalled so that the operating system can read the hard drive. On a more practical basis, what we have here, this one here, is a data connector, and this one is a power connector. And what can happen is that once the hard drive has been put in, these data connector and power connectors are not connected correctly or at all. So what we need to do is we need to connect it, which could be a little bit of a problem here because I'm struggling to hold my phone and to be able to put it in. But your data connector would go in this slot here and your power connector is attached here. So let me go and do that and we'll see the finished result. So now you can see that the connectors are securely in the hard drive, and then everything would be fine, and we would simply slot this back into the case. And there we now have a hard drive that should work correctly because those connectors are in. Let's go on to our final example, and that of a printer. Now, here is a typical printer you would see at home. So we have the printer, computer, we have a power cord, and we have a cable cord, and we need to make sure that we go through a series of steps making sure that everything is going to work fine. So the first thing is actually not here, but down at the power socket. And the first thing that we should make sure we do is that our plug goes in, and the next step is to make sure that the switch is turned on. The next thing that we need to do is to make sure that the power plug is connected to the printer. So on this particular printer, we can see that the power plug is going to go into that one there. So let's go and do that. So we've now gone and put the power plug and connected to the printer. So the next thing is the printer cable. And the printer cable connected in the printer goes to the one above. So let's go and put that in. And that's connected there. Right, we've gone and done that. Now we've got to make sure that the printer cable is plugged into the computer. Here we have a USB socket, so I'm just going to stick it into my computer there. And I'm just checking that we've got all the connections. So the printer cable is into my computer. The printer cable is in the printer. And the power cable is in the printer. The power cable is in the socket and the socket is turned on. And then we turn on the printer. And you will see that now our printer has power and should be working well. However, you will have noticed that it still wouldn't print any paper because we'd need to put some consumables in. So we'd need to put paper in and we would need to check on the ink cartridges as well. Okay, so we've gone and had a look at some various peripherals and a component in terms of troubleshooting. What we went and did was looked at some principles, went through some strategies. We went and reset the monitor, we connected a hard drive, and we got power and connection to a printer. Some basic steps for making sure that things work. Well, look, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.